Hello, I'm William Longfellow, and welcome to Let's Play Super Mario Kart, the thrilling racing game for the Super Nintendo. I'll be racing each cup in 150cc, the highest difficulty level, and in so doing I'll be showcasing each character starting with, as you see here, Koopa Troopa. Koopa Troopa and his lightweight friend Toad are very popular characters among beginners of Super Mario Kart because of their high acceleration and their very tight control. You'll be seeing here that I make very tight turns with these characters, and it allows beginners to race a little bit more easily in courses that have lots of twists and difficult turns. For instance, you need a little bit less foresight, a little bit less experience in strategy to make it through a tight S-curve with Koopa or Toad than you do with, say, Bowser or Donkey Kong Jr., whose turning radius is very wide. And the other thing, the acceleration, means that Koopa and Toad have a lot less risk in making errors, because if they slide into the sand, or get hit with an obstacle, or bump an enemy computer the wrong way, they'll be able to get right back up pretty quickly. Now, the downside to these characters is that they have rather low top speed, but I recommend using them if it's your first time playing Super Mario Kart, and especially if you come from other Mario Kart games, because their control is a lot more similar to the later Mario Kart games. Now you see here I won first place, and that earns me 9 points. 9 points for first place, and if I got second place, as Luigi did, I would get 6 points, and 3 points for third, and 1 point for fourth place. And the goal in each cup is to win more points than anybody else. So, how do you win points like this? How do you race well enough to win points? Well, the basic principle in Super Mario Kart is to maintain your top speed despite all the obstacles and the turns. Now, this seems like a rather self-evident principle, something that you'd follow in any racing game, but it's more important in Super Mario Kart. It overrides other principles, such as make your turns as tight as possible, which is important in this game, but not as important. Or, for instance, in some racing games, it's even choose the right path, find the right shortcut. In games that jam-pack a lot of shortcuts, for instance, Diddy Kong Racing has a few, and Mario Kart Super Circuit has quite a few ways of cutting corners and making shortcuts that actually is more important than just generally being able to gather speed and using it correctly. In Super Mario Kart, the speed is what matters, and to keep up your speed throughout the twistier courses, it's necessary to do what's called the drift. Now, I've been doing it a little bit through this course, and if you'd like to, you can rewind back and look at some of the turns, especially the ones I make right before the finish line. Now, if you drift long enough, and I'm drifting right now, you get a little speed boost, and that allows you to cut through areas like grass that would normally slow you down, keeping your top speed. And again, since that is the principle, it's a good thing to drift a lot. So basically, the first thing to remember, drifting gives you a little bit of a speed boost if you do it long enough, but even if you don't reap the speed boost, what drifting does for you is allows you to take turns more tightly than you would be able to just normally. If I didn't hold the shoulder buttons while making the turn, and holding the shoulder buttons is how you make a drift. It's also the button you use for hopping, so you'll generally be seeing me hop before I take each turn. You see right here, and then I hop to get out of the turn. Hopping to get out of the turn is a little bit of another technique. It doesn't really have any name, but it basically allows me to adjust my direction a little bit more. And using a combination of the drift and the hop, I can actually make very nearly 90-degree turns with Koopa. And I'm, due to taking the very insides of these curves and generally keeping up my speed, I've actually caught up to first place in just about 2.5 laps after a rather silly mistake at the beginning, falling down into the hole there. Now, each course presents a different challenge, but it generally comes down to what will it throw at you to keep you from maintaining your top speed. In Donut Plains, it's the grass, and in some of the later ones, the water that'll keep you from doing that. And it throws a variety of obstacles. I'll explain in later Donut Plains courses, but in the one that we just did, the grass is the main obstacle. If you drift accidentally into the grass, you'll lose a lot of speed. That's a bad thing. On the other hand, in Ghost Valley, the obstacle is basically the bottomless pit that I fell down right at the beginning, and also the walls that if you hit them the wrong way, they'll slow you down, cut your speed entirely, and that can spell disaster for you. Here's a Bowser Castle course. The obstacles here are a bit similar. The walls tend to be the main difficulty in a Bowser Castle course. I'm very bad with walls. Generally Bowser Castle courses always cause me basically to do that. And that's a very bad thing to do, especially with a character that can't get right back up to speed as Koopa can. Koopa and Toad and Yoshi and Princess all accelerate very quickly, so mistakes are less lethal for them, but I like using Bowser and Donkey Kong Jr. a lot. Their high speed is great, but when they hit a wall like that, yeah, they don't get right back rolling as Koopa just did right there. So it's a good idea to get a feel of, one, how to generally make turns to maintain top speed, how to drift, how to come out of a drift by hopping, basically how to control along those lines, and then to have an idea of what each individual course archetype, and also the courses themselves, how the types of things that they'll throw at you to keep you from getting to your top speed. In Bowser Castle, it'll be these thwomps that you can hit, and I've done so a few times, and these walls, especially that one that I keep hitting. They're probably not as bad as me at ramming into the insides of curves with Koopa and Toad, but actually it's quite a big problem for me with even Bowser and Donkey Kong Jr. I take turns very early with them, and I'll hit the inside of a curve and just lose all my speed. It ruins any chance of getting a good time. Right there, you lose like 3 seconds with them. It's pretty awful, but here I probably lost more than that in all the accumulated wall bumps, but it is the Mushroom Cup and the AI is rather loose here, so it's a victory for me. Another 9 points. Now you see it's actually impossible for Luigi to catch up, but because of the way the game works, every time you place 5th or lower, the game makes you restart the race with 1 fewer life. Now you see sort of on the right there's a counter that has a picture of a card that says 4. That's the number of spare lives I have. I can place 5th or worse 4 times, and then I have to place 5th or better, or 4th or better to advance. So even though if it were a real Grand Prix race, I could just sit this one out and already have won. I need to complete this and rank in it relatively well to pass on to the next thing, to complete the GP. Oopsies. Now that's an obstacle that Mario Circuit throws at you, pipes in the middle of the road. You'll be seeing those in more obnoxious places in later Mario Circuit courses, but in general you have those 4 pipes and this 1 pipe in the middle that's rather bothersome. Another obstacle is the sand, kind of like the grass and donut plains, but it's even a bit worse. And in this course, actually there's a jump. Now, I have green shell, and I'm going to lay it right on the jump, and hopefully it'll hit a computer. Because it's rather funny to watch what happens to the computers when they get hit by an obstacle right before the jump. You see, Princess failed to make the jump, so she'll be running around. And there's a little bit of a quirk in the AI when stuff like that happens. So she failed to make the jump again, and this time there doesn't really seem to be very much of an excuse for that. Now, why is it that Princess failed to make the jump the second time? Well, computers like to keep the status quo. For instance, you have Luigi, who has been placing higher than the other computers all the time. If you manage to nail Luigi with an obstacle, and he falls behind Yoshi and Princess and Mario, Luigi will race like hell to catch up to them, and they'll be slowing down, obligingly, letting him go by. But I can explain all these mechanics in later videos. Anyways, here's the celebration for winning the Mushroom Cup. You can see Koopa playing with the champagne bottles, and that's it. Thanks for watching. Ta-ta for now.